There is a deception at the bottom of our world. When we look at Antarctica, we see a monolith, a silent, frozen, white wasteland that has sat motionless for millions of years. We treat it like a background character in the story of Earth, a place that just exists. But we are wrong. If you could strip away the kilometers of ice, you wouldn't find a dead frozen rock. You would find a second, secret continent that is alive, dynamic, and arguably more volatile than anywhere else on the planet. Right now, miles beneath the surface, there are rivers of liquid water rushing through the dark. There are active volcanoes heating the crust. There are lakes the size of cities that haven't seen the sun in eons, and mountains that rival the Alps, completely buried in white. This isn't just trivia. This hidden world is a massive, pressurized machine. And right now, the gears of that machine are moving faster than they have in recorded history. The ice isn't just melting from the sun, from above. It is being destroyed from below. And the mechanisms driving this destruction, heat, water, and hidden topography, are the exact levers that will determine the future of every coastline on Earth. Antarctica is not a sleeping giant. It is waking up. And to understand why that matters to your wallet, your home, and your future, we have to go deep beneath the ice. To understand the threat, you have to understand the friction, or rather, the lack of it. Imagine a block of ice sitting on concrete. It's heavy, it's rough, and it doesn't want to move. Now, imagine pumping hot oil between that ice and the concrete. Suddenly, that heavy block isn't sitting, it's sliding. This is exactly what is happening beneath the Antarctic ice sheets. For a long time, we assumed the base of these glaciers was frozen solid to the bedrock, but we've discovered that the Earth itself is working against the ice. Geothermal heat, energy radiating from the Earth's radioactive core, is rising up through the crust. Because the ice is so thick, it acts like a heavy blanket, trapping that heat against the rock. The result is a hidden network of pressurized water. We aren't talking about a few puddles. We are talking about a complex plumbing system of subglacial rivers and lakes that function like a high-pressure lubricant. This water lifts the glaciers ever so slightly off the bedrock, reducing friction and allowing millions of tons of ice to accelerate toward the ocean. This is the first piece of the puzzle. The ice is speeding up because the floor is slippery, but the speed wouldn't be such a crisis if the destination wasn't so dangerous. This brings us to the most critical danger zone on the planet, West Antarctica. If you look at a standard map, East and West Antarctica look the same, but geologically, they are different worlds. East Antarctica sits on high, solid ground. It is stable. West Antarctica, however, is a disaster waiting to happen. Much of the West Antarctic ice sheet rests on a bed that is below sea level. It is essentially a massive bowl of ice sitting in the ocean, grounded on the seafloor. This geography is its fatal flaw. Because the ice sits in deep water, it exposes itself to the ocean's thermal energy. Deep, warm ocean currents are currently finding their way beneath the floating edges of the ice shelves. These shelves act like the cork in a champagne bottle. They physically hold back the massive glaciers behind them. But the warm water is dissolving the cork from the bottom up. We are seeing these shelves thin and fracture. As they weaken, they lose their grip on the seafloor. When a shelf collapses, the cork is popped. The glaciers behind it, lubricated by that geothermal heat we talked about, are free to accelerate into the sea. This is the mechanism of sea level rise. It's not just an ice cube melting in a glass. It's a conveyor belt, dumping ice into the ocean. And the consequences of this acceleration are not theoretical. When we talk about sea level rise, we often talk in centimeters. It sounds small, but on a global scale, inches of water translate to devastation. If the West Antarctic ice sheet were to collapse, we aren't talking about wet ankles on the beach. We are talking about the fundamental remapping of the world. Coastal cities, New York, Shanghai, Mumbai, London, are the economic engines of our civilization. Even a small rise significantly increases the destructive power of storm surges. Saltwater intrusion destroys farmland, leading to food insecurity. Ports, which handle the vast majority of global trade, would need to be rebuilt or abandoned. The economic damage would run into the trillions. And then there is the human cost. When coastlines become uninhabitable, people move. We are looking at the potential for mass migration on a scale that inevitably leads to geopolitical instability. The ice moving in Antarctica pushes people across borders thousands of miles away. It is a domino effect that starts in the silence of the South and ends in the chaos of the North. But if we look away from the disaster scenario for a moment, the science of what lies beneath offers something else: hope and profound mystery. The landscape buried under the ice is just as complex as the one above it. Radar surveys have revealed ghost mountains, enormous ranges with valleys and peaks that no human eye has ever seen. This hidden topography dictates the flow of the ice. A deep valley can act as a fast lane for a glacier, while a hidden ridge can act as a break. Mapping this terrain is the only way we can accurately predict how much time we have. And in the pockets between these mountains, life has found a way. In the subglacial lakes, cut off from the atmosphere for millions of years, there is life. Microorganisms have evolved to survive in total darkness, crushing pressure and freezing temperatures, feeding on minerals from the rock rather than energy from the sun. This discovery changed biology. It proved that life is far more resilient than we imagined. If microbes can thrive beneath the Antarctic ice, why couldn't they thrive beneath the ice of Europa, the moon of Jupiter, or Enceladus, the moon of Saturn? Antarctica is our best laboratory for understanding the potential for extraterrestrial life, and it's also our best time machine. The ice itself is an archive. As snow falls and compresses over millennia, it traps tiny bubbles of ancient air. By drilling cores into the ice, scientists can taste the atmosphere of the past. They can read the history of Earth's climate, seeing exactly how carbon levels triggered temperature spikes 100,000 years ago. This data is the roadmap that tells us exactly where our current climate trajectory is heading. So we have a continent that controls global sea levels, holds the secrets of alien life, and archives the history of the world. Naturally, that makes it valuable. For now, Antarctica is protected. The Antarctic Treaty designates the continent as a place for peace and science, banning military activity and resource extraction. It is one of humanity's greatest diplomatic achievements. But treaties are just pieces of paper, and paper burns when the heat rises. As the world changes, the geopolitical reality of Antarctica is shifting. The ice holds immense potential resources, rare earth minerals, oil, and gas deposits that become more accessible as the ice recedes. And perhaps most ironically, it holds 70% of the world's fresh water. In a future defined by water scarcity, that ice becomes white gold. We are already seeing nations position themselves, building more research bases, commissioning new icebreakers, and subtly expanding their influence. The continent is becoming a chessboard. Will it remain a sanctuary for science, or will it become the next frontier for resource wars? The cooperation we see today is a test. If we can share Antarctica, perhaps we can solve the climate crisis it is helping to drive. If we can't, the melting ice might reveal new borders and new conflicts. We used to think of Antarctica as the end of the world, a place that was separate from us. But the science is telling us the exact opposite. Antarctica is the engine room. It is deeply, inextricably connected to the global system. The heat from the Earth, the currents of the ocean, the chemistry of the atmosphere, it all converges there. What happens in the dark beneath that ice has the power to reshape the physical geography of our planet and the political geography of our societies. The continent is moving. The water is flowing. The question is no longer if this system will change our future, but how fast we can adapt when it does. If you want to stay ahead of the stories that are shaping our world, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. The world is changing fast, and you don't want to miss what comes next.